Go ahead.
In terms of red zone, you talked about not having a lot of big body receivers. Is that part of it, that there just aren't a lot of big targets for your quarterback there?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that's all of it, but when things get tighter and, a lot of teams just depend on throwing the ball up to some big guys, which gets you a few cheap touchdowns throughout the year. If you make a living doing just that, you're eventually not going to be good either, because people can stop big guys who just post up because they struggle sometimes to get open. So having lots of ways to attack people is the best way to be successful there. If you have a threat to run the ball, you get lots of good looks to throw the ball. If you're not good at running the ball and you have to throw, they're going to probably rush 3, and it's very hard for 5 people to get open versus 8 when sitting in a small area. So it's about being balanced and able to do a little bit of everything, having some diversity in your type of skill of players, so you can run different types of plays.
In terms of Trent Taylor playing the slot, even ever since when you guys drafted him, you just like the way he's able to get free. Was his game Sunday exactly what you want out of that position?
Yes, definitely. That's what you look forward to, especially on third down, when guys who can separate versus man-to-man, and when they catch it, they turn it up the field and move the chains. It's been I think it's an important role throughout the league. Something that we've always had on our team, and you always have your fast, big guys usually, not always big, but you can win with size or speed on the outside. On the inside, I think you have to win with quickness, and whether it's a slot receiver, whether it's a tight end, whether it's a running back, those are usually the 3 areas you get those type of routes from.
Was there any point where you were preparing to play without him on Sunday?
No, not at all.
Trent Rubin and George Rollers will play. They'll play well on Sunday. Have the rookies this year exceeded your expectations?
I want to say they exceeded it. We had high expectations for them. We knew coming in that they were going to have to play a factor going into this year. Especially when we had some injuries. I think we put a lot of pressure on them early in the year, which I had to kind of temper myself with. We went in. Guys like George, expect them, to come in early and start for us at the beginning of the year. Same with Trent. Where as a coach, you want them to play great right away, but then you also got to realize that you put them in some roles that they weren't fully ready for. And what's been cool about all those guys is sometimes when you put someone in a role they're not 100% ready for, they get a little bit overwhelmed and they take a few steps back. And I feel like all those guys have just mentally been the right way, and they've gone better as the year's gone. All of them have been battling injuries, and for rookies, when you battle injuries, how long the year lasts, they usually don't last all year. It's just too long, and they're not used to it. And those guys have done a good job taking care of their body and coming back, which has happened.
Mike turned on.
All right. I thought my ears just got messed up.
Watching community game really helped putting the game together now. See what worked for him, what didn't, what he was good at. How does that affect?
Yeah, it makes it easier each week. I get a feel for him. How he reacts throughout a game. When he's comfortable, what he's comfortable with. He gets an idea for how I call plays, how we communicate on the sidelines about things, how we adjust to things once we see him. You get an idea of stuff that he can struggle with, or that puts more stress on him, and stuff that doesn't. So you can talk about that stuff a lot, but you don't truly know until you go into a game. He doesn't know the process of how we do it. He knows one thing, and we're waiting to see how it goes together. And I thought it was a good first start. It's more comfortable here just talking with him on Monday and Tuesday, the expectations of the game, and I think it helps him practice better this week, having a little bit more idea of what normally was the unknown going into Sunday.
Can you say how much of the playbook he knows now?
No, I mean, he knows what we put in this week, and that's what it comes down to now. Now that he's our starter, we put in stuff that he knows. Yeah, we introduced him some stuff today that'll be the first time. He just walked through it, where he's just kind of feeling it out. He'll rep it today. Probably need another rep of it on Thursday, possibly on Friday. But also tomorrow you put in a number of third down plays, short yardage, goal line. Friday we put in red zone. So you keep adding stuff each day till you have a whole game plan. And then by Saturday night you get together, you've kind of soaked it all in, and I have an idea what I think he's comfortable with and he does well, and he has an idea too. And then we discuss it, and things that he's not comfortable with or I'm not comfortable with him, we usually take out, and we know going into the game on Sunday that everything in he can do.
You mentioned after the game you felt like
your guys caught the ball better than they have all year. Is there something about the way he throws that, does he throw a more catchable ball? Is it just accuracy? Anything that you see there?
I mean, I think he threw some accurate balls. You know, the most catchable balls are guys who lob it and don't have the arm strength. Like, guys can catch my ball. I'd throw it basically real soft and would get him killed and lit up to over the middle. So, and Jimmy has some zip on it, so that's not by any means easy to catch. So, but he can take some off too. But yeah, hitting guys in stride helps a lot, and I also think guys getting open makes it easier to catch too. And I thought our guys did a good job getting open.
It is just a real small sample size, and you probably have to temper your expectations. But does he bring just a certain intangible? It appears that he does that, you know, when he's on the field.
I think when a quarterback goes out there and has some success, you know, and I think it's pretty obvious for everyone to see his arm talent, you know, just how quick he can get rid of it, the quick twitch he has in his arm and in his legs, the zip he can put on a ball. So I think everyone sees that, and when you go out there and you make some of the throws that he did, people get very excited. You know, I think our players and everything, they know he's new to all this. They know he's behind all the other guys. But to come in there in that situation and to make some of the plays he did when he is in that situation definitely excites everybody. I think everyone knows the potential and the possibilities, but I mean, it's not that you have to temper it, you just have to be realistic. It was one game. He did some really good things in that game. And there's a lot of stuff we can get better at too from that game. And you know, we got 4 more left, and it'll be fun to grade all these. You know, I think some hopefully will be better, some will be worse. But the main thing, it's not judging that outcome as a positive or negative. I see it all as positives. It's a way to get better and a way to really help lead us into next year.
Well, speaking of the excitement, the fan base is very excited. And people are tossing around Joe Montana comparisons and stuff. Is there any part of you that wants to say, whoa, 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 like, you know, this is one game, like, let's calm down? Or do you like that excitement that all of a sudden there's this kind of buzz around the team?
Well, I love that excitement, and you know, and I think it's deserving in terms of you should be excited that we have a talented guy, but you also, you know, you want to be fair to Jimmy too. I mean, you said the words Joe Montana, and that was his 3rd NFL game really playing, and you know, that's the goal, and we're excited about him, and that's the goal. Hopefully someday we can get to there, but let's take it one game at a time.
What specific areas did he exceed your expectations?
Just some of the throws he made. You know, I think it's tough when you're just not on autopilot and exactly know where everyone is all the time. You know, he definitely does when he's in a meeting room and he can draw it up and we can sit and relax. But when you go fast and things, sometimes that gets tough. Coming out of the huddle when the play clock's down, and to me, sometimes even when he was confused and wasn't exactly sure where to go with the ball, he still progressed and moved pretty fast and made some pretty good throws. Especially there was a couple in that game where we missed the protection and there was someone in his face and he was able to let it rip. Especially the one to trend over the middle on 3rd down. He stays composed, doesn't get too high or too low, communicates well with the guys, and you know, I liked how, you know, he's handled himself well since he's been here throughout the week. And going into a game, you don't know because you know it's going to be tough for him. And even when there were tough times, he never lost his composure. He was always the same guy since he's been here.
You're still going week to week on your game captains. Why is that?
Yeah, you know, I was going to decide during the bye week. I mean, that was my original plan. And, you know, I did it week to week, and I've enjoyed doing it that way. I didn't think by the bye week that there was the obvious exact guys you should pick on all 3 phases. And it's been neat, I think, for the players to name one each week. We do it based off of how they're practicing, how they played the week before. And I think it's fun in team meetings on Saturday nights to tell them who the captains are going to be. And, you know, I expect us to have some captains next year, designated ones. I don't know whether it'll start this season that way or we'll do it halfway through. But we've changed a lot throughout this year. You know, a lot of guys that are on our team now weren't on our team at the beginning of the year. We've lost a lot of guys that were here and they've left. And we've had a lot of injuries throughout the year too. You know, we go into that bye week or the week before, I think, is when we actually had to make it official for the captains. And you know, a lot of guys who would have been possibilities weren't playing at the time either. So it just didn't make much sense to me. And if it doesn't make much sense, then I just don't do it.
Players have some input into who is each captain each week?
No, they don't. When we do it next year, which we plan on doing this year, we were going to wait till halfway and we were going to let the players vote on who they thought earned it and who they wanted to be, and we were going to have them do 3, and then we were going to pick 3 each week. But by the time it got to where the players would have voted, there were so many guys that I think they could have voted for who weren't playing. It was just too, and some guys who had gone on IR and things like that, that it was just, we were kind of doing it just to do it. And I don't like to do anything just to do it. It just didn't make sense to me at the time. So we've kept it, doing it the same way we've done it all year.
Obviously, you're pretty far removed from your time in Houston now, but just looking back, what are some things you took away from that experience that maybe helped you get to where you are now?
I mean, I loved my time in Houston. You know, I went to school in Austin, so I've always loved the state of Texas. Going down to Houston, lots of good people, very down-to-earth people, great food out there, which I miss the Tex-Mex the most, and the queso. And, you know, I loved, you know, Rick was there when I was there, Mr. McNair. Not many people on the team are left over, you know, just looking at the roster. There might be more, but I want to say Cushing is one of the only ones left. I know Dwayne was there. But, you know, that was my first time as a position coach. Got to be a receiver coach there and then a quarterback coach, and my first 2 years as a coordinator. Back then I didn't have as many scars. Everything went pretty good. You know, our 2 years as a coordinator, it went real well, and had a lot of good memories from there. And, you know, I've left and gone to a bunch of different places, had to do different things. But it's, you know, Houston's a good city, good football town, and it's a good organization.
From the success that you said you enjoyed as a coordinator right away, is that something that's helpful when you do go on to enjoy success elsewhere like you did in Atlanta particularly?
Yeah, I think that's what's, you know, if you're gonna do what works. And, you know, my first couple of years in Houston, what we did worked, and it worked with the people we had. It worked with Matt Schaub and Andre Johnson, Owen Daniels, Kevin Walter. And then, you know, that's all I knew. So I thought it would work everywhere. Go to Washington, didn't work the same way. And you're forced as a coach to adjust. And it's frustrating at first because you want to do what seemed easy at the time, but it didn't work. And you got to adjust your players. And I think I had to do that year in and year out at Washington, which forced me to just evolve. And we had some pretty good years in Washington offensively. And then when I went to Cleveland, I had to adjust, and it was different. When I went to Atlanta, I had to adjust, and it was different. You have a foundation of what you believe in, but, you know, just the path of being fortunate enough to, you know, be a coordinator for those 9 years and to go to 4 different places and do it at, you know, you don't feel it at the time, but looking back on it, it makes you a lot better because you realize there's always ways you want to do things, but it doesn't always work that way. And if you're forced to adjust, I think it makes you a better coach in the long run.
You've been last one, guys. Injuries, but are there any new injuries that came up after Sunday's game, and how do you think Fred and Adrian came out of that game?
I think they came out well. You know, I know you know, Trent's still going to be limited this week. We'll see how that goes throughout the week. Adrian's definitely better this week than he was last week. You know, it's healed a week longer, so I expect him to be much better. And then the other guys, you know, we just had the sickness with Trent. K1 went out for a little bit, but he should be fine today. I think it was really our best week injury-wise that I can remember this year.
You speak to the dynamic, the defense in stretches has played very well this year, and you have guys making plays, the Marshes of the world, the Doozables that weren't even here in training camp. What's the dynamic for a guy like that? Is it kind of like a second lease on life when they get a chance to come and actually make plays that look like guys that you might be interested in the future because of the way they're playing?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we went through a stretch on defense where we lost a lot of guys, and to be able to, when that happens, you know, especially after a trade deadline and stuff, there's not a ton of options. So you got a few guys on practice squad, and then you got to go to the guys who we say that are on the street, and that just means that they're not in a building. And you work out a bunch of guys, and to bring in guys like, you know, for Marsh to become available from New England, dudes had been out there. We had him earlier in our camp. You never know when you have a guy in camp and then you don't bring him back, just like Murphy, till, you know, week 12 or 10, whatever it is. You know, they all tell you they've been working out and they're in shape, but you never really know. And credit to those guys, they have been. And so they came in, they were in shape, and they were able to help us. When those guys aren't like that, they tell you, and then they come in, and that first practice they pull a hamstring and they hurt you twice as bad after that. So it's been a credit to those guys, especially like Dooz and Murph, who were here. You know, we did like them. It was hard to let them go, but just number-wise, we told them there would be a good chance they came back. A lot of people will give up on that if it doesn't happen in the first month, but those guys stayed strong, acted like pros, and they've been able to help us get through some of these stretches that would have been real tough without them.
All right, thanks, Coach.
All right.